All right, so I'm doing all this to help you guys to learn how to solve questions. So I expect each and every one of you to take this seriously. You can take a minute to copy all the questions down so that later on you can look at them yourself and try and solve the questions on your own. Like we have said, with mathematics, if you just watch how your teacher solve questions without you doing it yourself, you won't be able to be good at it. So you have to practice on your own. So write this question down. This was the first question that came in your exam. Write it down. Then later, when we are done with everything, you can take the questions one by one and try and solve it on your own to get better at the lessons. Right. So Mr. Nkansa, a farmer at Nsase Koko village planted mango seedlings on his piece of rectangular plot of land. If the length of the land is 3.257 acres and its width is 1.927 acres, I find the perimeter of the land. I correct your answer to three significant figures. B. If x is a quarter of its supplementary angle, find x. And C. Use the diagram to find the diameter of the circle. II, the circumference of the circle. Right now, so let's look at how we can solve the first part of the question one. That is the A. I've told you time and time again that how you number your work is also very important. So whenever you are given a question, know how you are going to number your work. It makes the solution easier for you, and it also makes your work presentable. So let's look at the first part of the question one, that is the A. So we can visualize this plot of land that they are talking about. He said Mr. Nkansa has a plot of land and it's rectangular in shape. We know what a rectangle is. Anytime you hear the word rectangular, what should come to your mind is the shape of a rectangle. We know that a rectangle has a length and a width. It's even stated in the question that the length of the land is 3.257 acres. So we can visualize the plot of land down here. As you've seen, I've drawn it nicely down here. So you can do that in your jotter or on your answer sheet when you are solving your question. You can illustrate it to help you with the solving of the question. So we have our plot of land. The length of the rectangle is this distance here. The length of the rectangle is this distance here. And we know that a rectangle has two opposite sides equal. That is, the length down here will be equal to the distance that we have at the top here. And then this side we know is called the width. This side is also called the width. So like we've learnt in class, anytime we are given a word problem, we have to get our data first from the word problem. So you can state your length L is equal to 3.257 acres. That is what we have in the question here. The length of the land is 3.257 acres. All right, so let's go on. Now, the width we have, as said early on, is this side here. And since this is a rectangle, it means this side of the rectangle is equal to this side as well, because they can both be classified as the width. So if this side is 1.927 acres, it means this side also is 1.927 acres. So you can write it when you are solving This is also our data. Width W equals 1.927 acres. But once you have your length and width, that is your data down, once you have written it down, you state, can state, you can forgo this step actually, but then I want you to state it categorically for whoever is marking the question to know that you know what you are doing. We have learned that perimeter is the distance around an object. So you write perimeter implies, we know what the symbol stands for in mathematics. Perimeter implies distance around an object. Distance around an object, it means when we take the distance from here to here plus this distance plus the distance here plus the distance here will give us our perimeter. So we are measuring the total distance around this rectangle. That is what perimeter stands for, the distance around an object. So if you had something like a tape measure, you can stand here, and then you measure to this side. When you are done, you measure to this side, you measure to this side, and you measure to this side. Then you add all the distances together. That becomes your perimeter of the rectangle. All right. So now we have learnt in our lessons that the formula for perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That's why I've color coded them here for you to see it. 2 times the length means that this side plus this side. That is, we have 2 of the lengths. So 2 times L. See, this L is just a variable. We have learned this is called a coefficient. So it means that wherever we see our L, whatever value that they say L is here, we just insert it here. You know what that means, right? That is called what? Substitution. So this is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. We can use factorization to write it in a different way. That will become 2 and then into brackets L plus W. I hope you remember. Yes. So but this particular question, let's use this formula 2L plus 2W. So like I said, once we have our formula written down, all we have to do is substitution. Wherever I see L, I put the value of the L there. That is why I've placed it in brackets. You know that anytime we have a bracket, it means the coefficient is being multiplied by whatever is in the bracket here. So the L is what I've written in the bracket. That is 3.257 here. The same thing for the W, 2 times W. So wherever I see W, I write 1.927. One of the questions that I assume some of you may be asking is that why haven't I written the acres there? We have learned in class that anytime you are solving questions, when you are solving it, you can forgo the units, and then when you are done, you insert the units. You can also write it there. No one will penalize you for that. So if you want to write the units there, you can insert them. That is also fine. But in this particular solution, we are not going to write the units there. When we are done and we have our final answer, then we add the units. All right, so let's go on. So we have learned about what the perimeter of a rectangle is. Perimeter of a rectangle is giving us 2L plus 2W, or 2 brackets open L plus W brackets closed. Then you do your substitution. Substitution means that wherever I see L, I have to write the value of L there. So the value for this L variable is 3.257. So I'm substituting 3.257 for L. Right, so let's go on. So when you are done with that, it means 2 times 3.257. And that is going to give you 6.514. When you do this multiplication also, it is also going to give you 3.854. So you can do it on your own. When you are multiplying 2 by 3.257, you're going to get 6.514. Remember that you are not supposed to use calculator. You are supposed to do it manually on your own. So don't depend on the calculator to do your multiplication. At this level, you're supposed to do it manually. So when you're done, you do this addition. You sum these two figures. That is 6.514 plus 3.854. And that is going to give you 10.368. You see, when we are done, we added our units here. Don't forget about the units. It is very important. If you leave it, you may be penalized. So when you are done and you get your answer, don't forget your units. And you know me, whenever you are done to make your work presentable, they asked you a question. They said, if the length of the land is 3.257 acres and its width is 1.927, find the perimeter. So once I'm done with the solution, I just write, therefore, the perimeter of the land is 10.368 acres. Remember, we are solving the question to make it presentable. So when you have your solution like this, the work is very presentable. When the examiner sees it, you will give all your marks to you. All right. So let's go on to the next part of the E, which is II. That is, correct your answer to 3 significant figures. Now, for that also, we have to state the data for that particular question. We have already solved for the perimeter of the land. And all that we are required to do is just to all that we are required to do is just to correct our answer to 3 significant figures. Significant, one of the synonyms for significant is important. So 3 important figures. Now look at the figure that we have here. 10.368. If I was to tell you what is the most important figure in this figure, you're going to tell me that it is this one here, because that is the one that has the greatest value. The one here stands for 10. When we are doing our tens and ones, you remember that the one here stands for 10. The zero is at the ones column. That means after the one here, this zero is the next important figure. So it means you have 1, 2 figures, but they said we should correct it to what? 3 significant figures. That is 3 important figures. So from here, 1, 2, 3. It means these 3 figures here, the 1, 0, and 3, are the most important figures. They are the 3 most important figures in 10.368. When that is done, you look at the next figure that comes. This figure is 6. But is 6 more or less than 4? 6 is more than 4, right? So once it is more than 4, you add 1 to the 3 here to make it 4. I'm taking it again. Our 3 significant figures here are 1, 0, and this 3 here. That means 10.3 is our significant figures here. But then after that, the next number that comes is 6. 6 is more than 4. So once 6 is more than 4, it means that we have to add 1 to this 3 to make it 4. That means if we are correcting 10.368 to 3 significant figures, our answer is going to be 10.4. Remember, this 6 was more than what? 4. So we have to add 1 to this 3 to make it 4. This symbol here, we say that is approximately 10.4. That is how you say it. Approximately 10.4 acres. Then you put to 3 significant figures into brackets. I hope you get it. All right. So try and then go back, take a look at the question again. Don't look at the solution. Write the solution somewhere, but don't look at the solution. Take the question again and on your own, try and solve it. When you have any concerns, you can get back to this video, look at how we solved it, and then you go back again to your question. Try and learn how to solve this question on your own. That is how you learn. If you don't learn it on your own, if you don't learn how to solve the questions on your own, it will be very difficult when you meet a similar question. So try and solve the questions on your own once you know what the solution is. All right. So let's move on to the next question.